This week, the conversation is all about your perfect customer. We can use words like avatar interchangeably with that, but it's really making sure that you have a really, really deep understanding of exactly who your perfect customer is, right? And because there's so much that gets leveraged off of that understanding, right? So in other words, like, when you start saying things like, well, my customers are females between 30 and 55 years old. Okay. Well, okay. I mean, that's kind of general. I can tell you, just as a single guy, I'm not interested in dating every woman between 30 and 55 years old. I mean, maybe that's a bad analogy, but there's some really specific things that I would look for if somebody that I was interested in romantically, right? So I have a certain avatar in that regard. You have a business, product, service, idea, whatever that you're trying to get across. And it's not necessarily everybody between, or necessarily every female between 30 and 55 years old. So now, Kurt, I can't hear you, by the way. I can see your lips moving, but I can't.
Now can you hear me?
There we go. Now I can hear you. Yeah. You should unmute yourself. Yeah.
I put you on mute, so when I was putting ice in my cup, you didn't hear it. And then I said something intelligent. I was going to say something intelligent, but you didn't hear it. You know what's interesting, though, Shecky? Because we were actually talking about this on my porch the other day. So I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
I've already started the recording. Really today what we're talking about is we're talking about avatar, and we're talking about really zeroing in on your perfect customer, right? The moral of the story here is a lot of people get this wrong, and I'm going to give you a great analogy in a second, but a lot of people get this wrong. But if you really focus on who your target market is, not only can you target them on Facebook, Google, and Twitter, but remember, Twitter, Google, Facebook, these guys don't care about your business. And I'm just being honest with you, right? You're going to hear me say this a lot. They don't care about your business model. They don't care if your customers are really happy. For the most part, they really don't. They don't even care about how much money you spend with them. What they care about is they want to make sure that your content's congruent. They want to make sure that when someone clicks on your ad, it does two things. One, it answers their question. It gives them the information. It is 100% congruent with what they're looking for. That's relative. And number two is they want to make sure that the links work and the customer has a great experience. Not that they're powered by block-ups, not that there's some big flashy banners that said, hey, you got to buy right now, or squeezing people into only giving their email. They want to provide really good content. So if you really focus on who this avatar is, and we'll go some bullet points in it, then the people who show up are going to be the right people. Now, Shecky, you just said this. You said we were talking about dating, right? Yeah. Let's just be open about this because we were having a conversation on the porch about I'm single, you're single, we both have interesting dating lives, and sometimes we just share stories, right? And
is this going to be like true confessions? I just want to know.
No, this is good. This is good. So what happens, though, is this is really important, right? So I know that on internet dating, right, if you're going to meet people, you kind of have to figure out who do you really interested in, right? You got to figure out the age and demographics, what kind of hobbies do they like? And it's kind of interesting because internet dating, like some of these sites will ask you 70 or 80 questions to see how compatible you are. And it's like, you haven't even talked to the person. Like in the old traditional way, you'd have to spend time getting to know someone.
Right.
Now, what's interesting, Shecky, is you recently went on a date, right? And I won't give away too much information, but you went on a date to a location, spent time with someone. And at the end of, kind of a short evening, just a couple of hours, you realize you're like, oh, this isn't somebody that I want to see again. And I go, the difference is, and we're just talking back and forth, the difference is being able to know when you can identify that right away as who you're looking for and identify what you don't want right away and being able to move on versus the inexperienced mind who is worried, who doesn't know, who wants to give it a try and gives it a second thought and keeps on trying something that unfortunately isn't even fitting who they're looking for exactly. So the analogy of dating is great because you don't want the wrong people to show up and you don't want the wrong people to stay. And the same thing can happen with your avatar and your targeting. And if your targeting isn't right, man, you can end up having some customers that you didn't really want in the first place, and it's not in a relationship that you want to be engaged with. So, Shecky, you talk to tons of our customers, right? How many people do you feel by the time that you talk to, and just clear, when I say customers, for people who don't know us, we have a full ad agency and we have a full digital training agency where we train people how to advertise online. And Shecky is our training coordinator, and he's talked to hundreds of our students. Shecky, how many of our students that you've talked to have properly outlined their avatar targeting or their avatar before they started marketing? That's probably a good question.
Boy, that's a very, very tiny percentage. I mean, I would say, I couldn't give you a percentage, but if I talk to, say, 100 people, within that 100, there's probably 2 or 3 that have some seasoning, like in other words, they kind of get it and that they understand the importance of that. And I kind of agree with you. Maybe the dating analogy is actually a little bit better than I thought, because one of the other things that you said just now was really about the flip side of that. And so we all know in an attraction environment, right, that being needy is not very attractive, right? So when you're needy, right, you kind of are in this thing, well, I just want attention, or in this case, I just want traffic, or I just want to send people to my offer, right? I just want to go meet this girl for coffee. I don't even care if she's breathing, so because I just need to be with a woman. I just need to have some female company, right? Yep. Yeah. And so the same thing is true as it relates to your marketing. If you just say, hey, man, I just need traffic. And I hear that all the time. I just need traffic. I just need to get some eyeballs to my offer, right? It's like, well, if you're offering grass-fed beef to a vegetarian, you can get a lot of vegetarians to that offer. But guess what? You're not going to be selling any beef.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just not the importance of really having this dialed in, of knowing exactly who is going to resonate with this offer and what kind of problems and what kind of things keep them up at night. Like what are they really all about? That is huge in your marketing. It's why we call it one of the keystones, because it is foundational to everything else that we talk about. Everything that goes on with your targeting, everything that goes on with your messaging, everything that goes on with your retargeting, everything. It's all hinged on this conversation, right?
So what Shecky and I do is, Shecky, I mentioned this on another mastermind call. We got to put this together as well too, because our Blab content right here is a real big part of our overall content strategy. And as we're documenting these processes out, I'll give them out to people eventually someday. Like, this is really good. But what Shecky and I do is we meet we meet every Wednesday, and we talk about the next kind of Blab content that we're going to go over to make sure we're really laser focused and we're really breaking down this analogy for you. So, Shecky, one of the ways that we broke this out, we said, what is important? And we talked about this for a little bit. This is really good. And by the way, I see, Michelle, that you're calling in here for a minute. I'll bring you on here in just a couple more minutes. There's a couple of things that I want to grab on here, and then I want to answer some questions as well, too. So I just want to be really respectful to everybody, let you know that I'm going to grab you for some questions and some engagement, a couple of things that Shecky and I want to go over. So when we're talking about the customer avatar is, because by the way, these recordings are always made available public for Blab, and then we sort these in a very specific manner inside of our training area for social media ad genius. I'll tell you about that later, inside our SMAG family. So what's important for this is, and I'm looking over to my other screen when you see me looking to the side, laser target for relevance and long-term growth. Key 1, make sure the wrong people don't show up. 2, timing timing in the market. Number 3, this is going to be really important, and speed of implementation. Number 4. So let's cover these step by step. Number 1, laser target for relevance and long-term growth. The thing is Facebook right now is they're giving you a component, which is they're showing you a relevance score. Relevance score is extremely important. The relevance score is going to show how long you're basically going to be able to run your ads. Meaning, if a score out of 1 out of 10, 10 being the highest, if your ads are a relevant score of 10, that means it's highly relatable. It's highly relevant. It is congruent with the people you're targeting. They like your ad. That's super important, because then Facebook's going to want to run more of those ads. And again, same thing with Google and Facebook and Twitter. It doesn't matter how much you bid. If you bid more than anybody else for clicks and you send them to a crappy page that isn't congruent, they're not going to send your traffic to the page. They're going to send the person who has the most congruent traffic to the page, and then who pays next. It's always about the relevant, congruent content. So what's important is if you can make sure that your content is relevant, meaning the ads, number 1. If you can make sure that the ads are congruent to the landing page, congruent to your story, congruent to the story that you want to tell your avatar, what's going to happen is Facebook, Google, these other companies, they're going to allow you to scale your ads. The last thing that you want to do is to throw a whole bunch of traffic to people who aren't qualified. They're not going to buy. And Google and Facebook and these other networks know if someone goes to your site, doesn't read it, and what they call bounce off, and they can actually penalize you for that, meaning denying the ad, no longer running the ad traffic. And in some cases, where I've seen people who try to spend a whole bunch of money all at once to the wrong people, I've seen Facebook close accounts because the relevance score was so low, and Facebook came back to basically say, we decide to choose who runs on our network. We want to make sure that it's relative to our audience. So let's make sure, rule number one, we're laser targeting for that relevance and long-term growth. Number two, make sure the wrong people don't show up. Just like Shecky and I were just talking about the dating analogy, for example, right? We want to make sure that the people who are seeing our page, coming to our store, seeing us online, we want to make sure they're the right people, because we want to make sure that what we're doing for them is really solving their specific want and need. Let me give you an example. So what we talk about here at Black Box Social Media, what we talk about on the Blabs or the social media ad genius family, the SMAG family, right? What we talk about is online advertising. We talk about funnels. We talk about how people can get an ROI from a simple mathematical equation of learning how to run the right ads to the right people at the right time for the right length. Now, what we want to do is we want to target people who are interested in marketing. People who are interested in learning about marketing, learning about social media marketing, learning how Facebook's going to work. We're looking for, this is very important because it's really you, we're looking for early adopters. We're looking for people who embrace technology. We're not looking for someone to show up who says, this is why one of the reasons we hired Shecky, not only because I love him, someone who shows up and says, look, you don't understand, I hate that excuse, but I'm 55 years old. I don't even know how to log into Facebook, but I want to run Facebook ads, but I don't know how to run Facebook. I don't think I can do it. I want to hire somebody. I don't think I can do it. I don't really like the technology. I don't even know how to turn on my computer. Here's a lot of self-doubt, self-limiting beliefs, like, I don't know, counselor Jesus, like someone can help this person, but not me, right? Like, yeah. But what happens is when someone like Shecky shows up, and this is why we have so many students talk to Shecky, Shecky shows up and he's like, look, I've gone to Google and other places to try to figure out some of these answers, but here's what I'm looking to do. And this is important when making a decision. And you want to make sure your avatar does the same thing, but this is how we target our avatar. And then Shecky, I want to kind of talk about this for just a minute, is like when we target our avatar, right? I want someone who's very much like your personality. They're 35 to 55, maybe a little bit older, but they embrace technology. You don't have all the latest gadgets, but you're willing to test and try. You're willing to say, hey, I don't know how to log into my Facebook ad account, but if you show me a video, I'm happy to try, versus I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. This doesn't make any sense. So our avatar is really focused on at least somebody who wants to try. So Shecky, you've worked with me very early on. You talk to every single person who joins our social media ad genius family. Since we've been dialing our advertising in, do you see a difference in our avatar from the people you first spoke with versus the people that you're speaking with today?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're seeing an improvement. Obviously it's not an exact science. I mean, you can look at metrics, and obviously you want to look at metrics, right? And you can test and you can split test and you can define and do all this targeting, right? And that's super important. I don't want to minimize that. But as with anything, that after you've been doing something for a while, there comes a little bit more mastery. And what I mean, and maybe mastery is a strong word to use, but what comes with it is a certain intuition, right? And so, like, for example, like, when you think about it, if you're going to, your offer real well. I mean, you know what your market, your message is. Whoever is listening us to out there in Blabland right now, you know what your marketing message is right now. If you're going to put that message in front of the wrong person. So don't be needy. Don't be in a situation where you go, oh, I just got to get this in front of people and see how it does. You can pretty much tell right off the bat if you know it's going to do it. And And I just want to put a little extra comment onto something you said earlier, because you were talking about like Facebook with the relevancy score, and Google uses a thing called quality score. And, you made a comment like they don't really care about, you and your business and things like that, right? So what if they don't, right? Do they really care about revenue? I don't think that's necessarily it. Here's what they really care about, right? Facebook did not become Facebook, and Google did not become Google, and Twitter did not become Twitter unless their primary focus was on the user experience.
100%. And then everything.
That's what it has to be.
Absolutely.
Right?
You have to understand that and not get fed up with like, oh my goodness, why did I get my account shut down? My question is how relevant were you with these individuals? There's no social media site out there that's been around for over 20 years, and Facebook wants to be able to accomplish that. They can't do that unless every single one of their users is extremely happy, and then revenue follows.
Right. So and Facebook is certainly, I would say, more sophisticated than some of the other ones, and they seem to be leading the way in some of that technology as far as user experience and as far as some of the algorithms that they write within their program to make sure that what appears in people's news feed is extremely congruent to that type of individual. So, and you go back to that analogy of dating. In this horrible world of online dating, because anybody who's on this call that's single can relate to this, right? About all the stupid one-time coffee dates and, meet them for a glass of wine and never see them again. What would things look like in that world if everybody worked towards creating the perfect avatar, number one, and creating a perfect user experience? Right? Like, first of all, it probably wouldn't be meeting for coffee, and it probably wouldn't be meeting for somebody who's close to what you're looking for, and they're kind of close to what you're kind of close to what they're looking for, right? If it was really congruent, boy, that could make for a very, very powerful first meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That would probably lead to a second, third, fourth.
Well,
who knows what could come of it.
It's one of the four things that we were talking about originally, Shecky, that why is this important is, the other thing, and you're very close to it, and you were just talking about this as well too, is timing of the market, right? So your avatar, many times that Shecky and I will be talking about like a headline we're going to use, or an ad we're going to run, or a blog post, or a topic, and he's like, let's get back to the basics. Like if we were sitting here talking to June, our avatar, 35 to 55 years old, who's an entrepreneur who wants to learn about marketing, right? What are we serving this right? And we really get back to that basic to make sure, yes, here's who we're focused on. Now, if you try to be something to everyone, not only is that a huge responsibility, but you never really find out what's working and what's not. My firm belief, just what I believe, you can call me crazy, whatever, and I know Shecky shares the same belief. I want to attract the people that basically who I like and trust. I want to attract people who are highly positive. Like this is part of my personality, highly positive, really who want to go forward, people who want to take action, people who aren't afraid to test things. And that's what we focus on an avatar, because that's who we know that we can help. We don't want people showing up who are making excuses, who aren't ready. That's not the business. Like I don't require money as much as I love and I'm passionate about having someone walk up to me and they're like, dude, you gave me 3 tips. It changed my business. 5 years later, Shecky knows these stories. I now have a house. I'm married. I have 3 kids. Oh my God, I want to come to one of your masterminds and pay $5,000 to come for 3 days and learn some more. That's not about the money. That's about the journey. And then I get paid second. Very much like Facebook and Google does. They want to make sure you have a perfect experience. Google wants to make sure that if you click on an ad or you click on a link on Google, that you go to the website, read the information, and don't go back to Google. If you go back to Google, that tells Google it's not a perfect search result. If you want a Facebook ad or your customer clicks on a Facebook ad and they go to your page and they go back to Facebook right away, Facebook knows then that it's not relevant content. But if they go to your page and they spend 30 seconds or a minute, Facebook knows this because of the pixel, and then they know when you go back. So you want to make sure it's relevant. Now, the other thing is timing in the market and speed of implementation. You got to make sure that you're always testing and you don't shut off traffic. But if you really think about it, it's like, okay, if my avatar is June, 35, 55, female entrepreneur who wants to learn online marketing, what would be really good timing of the market, speed of implementation. What's timing in the market right now? It's December. It's almost the holidays. It's a great time to be selling stuff. We should really be talking about, having some great sales for like the Black Friday stuff, holiday stuff, and like what we're doing right now, goal planning for 2016. So I can start doing videos. I can start implementing because I know who my avatar is. I know what time of the year it is. I know what the seasonal entrepreneur is doing right now. Now this is helping me with even more laser targeted content instead of just saying, hey, what am I going to sell today? So Shecky, one of the things we talk about in here is, hey, what's important? Then we talk about so what, right? So what? If I don't target everything, what's the worst thing that could happen? So I know you're going to run out of money, have risk of having your account shut down. Let's talk about this just for a second because I want to jump into the two stories that we have for people this week. But Shecky, when targeting gets off, right, and you see people run ads and they know the ads didn't work, but they don't know why, do people typically, with targeting off and them not making money on ads, do they typically run more ads to test more, or do they stop and wait and try to figure it out? What do you find when you talk to students?
It's kind of a loaded question, but yeah.
Of course, you know what they do.
Well, we know for sure that they just turn stuff off, and that's absolutely the wrong thing to do, right? And hopefully after this call, there'll be people that really understand, like, wait a minute, I got to dial in this targeting a little bit better because I have a better understanding of my avatar. But if something's not working, what if I just made a little shift? And I think, this is just for me, the best analogy that I use is the way actually an autopilot works on an airliner, right? So when you start looking at, prevailing winds and weather patterns and things like that, you're going from, let's say, Austin. We're here in Austin where we want to fly to, say, Detroit, right? Well, there's going to be some things that kind of get in our way where it's not going to be an exactly straight line. But we know the vectoring and we know exactly that we need to get to Detroit. But along the way, we started off and, man, there was this huge wind and we got blown all the way over way east to Houston. And we're trying to go north, right? Well, we've got to make an adjustment. Right? It doesn't mean we're just going to turn the engines off on the airplane and sink to the ground, right? Because if we did, that's the death. You can pretty much say, okay, you have now effectively killed your marketing by doing that. I mean, it's like you're just going to run the plane into the ground. And it's sophisticated engines like Facebook, and I hate to pick on those guys, but they're kind of the 800-pound gorilla, but they'll look at that, then they'll go, hey, is this advertiser are they doing boosts on their fan page? Are they getting traction? Are they doing other things to where they're using the ecosystem? In other words, are the engines on? Are the flaps up? Is the autopilot in play? I mean, they're looking at all that. Well, I guess we'll keep the plane flying then, if that's the case, right? So that's, as a marketer, that's your responsibility to yourself, right, to your own business. But the other thing I want you to understand too is it's your responsibility to your avatar to say, hey, look, if you got something good in the marketplace to put forth, right, and you're providing some sort of good product, solution, whatever, really think about it. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about what are you creating for them. You have the ability to help some people, and it's your responsibility to get out there and help them. Well, if the first go around you didn't help that many people, or you're not hitting the nail right on the head, well, make some adjustments and keep going. I've told a lot of people on our strategy calls when people buy SMAG, Social Media Ad Genius, that to the testers go the spoils. Right? The old saying, to the victors go the spoils, right? But the people that are patient and willing to test and willing to say, okay, let's look at that. How can I make an improvement? How can I make a small adjustment? Maybe it's targeting, maybe it's messaging, maybe it's dialing in my avatar a little more. There's only a finite number of things, right? Well, how do I just continue to dial this in? But if you do that and you have patience, you are going to win every time, right? And
I think, I'm sorry.
It's all you.
Yeah, I think it's really important to really focus on when we're talking about targeting. And you brought up a couple of really, really good points. Now, I have really been focused over the last really 30 to 45 days is really reviewing 2015, the year that we've had. the events that I've gone to, the people that I've coached, the masterminds I've been a part of, and there's some really common things from people making 7 and 8 figures online to people just starting out that get stuck in people's heads that prevents them from moving forward. And that's the fear of unknown, like the fear of, I'm going to spend money, but I don't know what's going to happen. And that I don't know what's going to happen holds so many people back. So I've really been studying a lot about fear and what holds people back. And I'll be giving more information, about this as we continue to do some of these Blab trainings. But, the big thing is the fear of the unknown. So if you have a plan, then it's not fear of the unknown. You just got to stick with the plan. So it's very much like Shecky said, and I like the analogy of flying in the plane. You can't be flying and then all of a sudden say, crap, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a responsibility to your passengers. Now, I like how you said the word responsibility, because here's the thing. I'll say this about Social Media Ad Genius, and I'll say this about our services at Black Box Social Media. By the way, Shecky, if you wouldn't mind just putting the link in there for smag2.com. Just put smag2.com. If you guys have never heard of Social Media Ad Genius, you can sign up for our updates, our magazines, talking about online marketing strategies. We've spent $7-8 million on Facebook. Like, we work with 7, 8, 9-figure companies. Like, it's a whole other story. We're really here for the content today. But what's so important to remember is the part of fear, overcoming fears. If you have a plan and knowledge, fear starts to become a thing of the past. Like, Shecky, are you scared as hell when I ask you what is 2 + 2? Does that question scare you?
Not me.
Okay, what's the answer? 2 + 2.
4.
Shecky. Okay. Is there any fear in that? That's my point. There's no fear if you know what your numbers are. And a lot of people just don't. So we've quantified a process, what we call the Social Media Ad Genius Profit Factory. That's what we're codenaming it right now. We may change the name, but this is why we're having videos and we're doing these blabs, what we call breakout sessions that happen every Wednesday. So we're talking about concept here. We're going to get in some deep dive training come Wednesday. Now, I'm not quite sure if Nick's still on here, Shecky, but I do know that we have a link that people can sign up for. If you enjoy the content that you're getting now, please go ahead and tweet it out, post it on Facebook, give us a prop. It's one of the best rewards you can give us. These recordings of the Blabs will always stay up. So we have over 16 weeks of content that every single Monday we're doing a Blab like this. We talk about concepts, we talk about theories, and then we get into the actual training. And I'm going to be really transparent with you. The training that we have for on Wednesday is a breakout session. The reason that we do these breakout sessions, I'm recording processes to show entrepreneurs how to quantify their data so there is no fear in the numbers, and how to make sure that they have the correct follow-up process. I'm going to talk more about follow-up here in just a second. But I'm recording these, Shecky and I are recording these well over 16 weeks. So if you check out all the recordings here on Blab, you'll see training week after week what we're building to. The breakout session is where I give the deep dive training, like examples of here's where you push these buttons. Here's how you select this on Facebook. Here's what you do on Google that's super important. This applies to small business, medium business, large businesses as well too. Those breakout sessions happen every Wednesday. Shecky will put a link down in here. It's free to join. Those recordings of the breakout sessions are only good until Saturday. And then we put them in the back of a membership section. I'm creating a program over the next 16 weeks that I'm going to be selling for over $1,000. So you really get access to the free content every Monday here. Every Wednesday, the breakout session, all the content's free. But if you're a part of our Social Media Ad Genius family and you're a part of the Insiders Club, you will always get these recordings and you'll get that new product, Social Media Ad Genius Profit Factory. So what we're doing is we're recording all the content up front. So you get to see it for free. We get some of your reactions and questions. And once we have it all compiled, we'll be selling it. But we really want to go deep dive into the conversation, because here's the other thing that I found out. Shecky, when people don't know their numbers, they have fear and they don't have a plan and they give up. The second thing is, if we spend time focusing on our avatar right now, just like what we're doing right now, if we spend time doing this, they're going to go see our ad. They're going to click on the ad. They're going to go to the landing page. Just because they go to the landing page and didn't opt in doesn't mean they are saying no forever. And that is super important for people to remember. Super important. So what ends up happening is if we get the targeting done right, and we have people go to our landing page but they don't opt in, we can still follow up with those individuals. Most people stop the follow-up process. So what's crazy, and Shecky, this never ceases to amaze me. The clients that we have come on, or the students that we work with, they'll define their avatar, they'll run ads, they'll get people to opt into their email list or go to a landing page or go to a website, and they stop following up. They stop the ads, they stop the email follow-up, they stop the retargeting effort. If you've spent time already really focusing on who your avatar is and they showed up, you've already done some work. They already have a micro commitment. Follow up. It's just like being a sales professional. If someone calls you, number one, the most important thing, if someone calls you, Shecky, this is so important, people should write this down, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Right? That's number one.
Don't send it to voicemail.
Don't. If you don't pick up the phone, call them right away. I didn't say call them in a week. Watch my eyes. Call them right away. You can do that with email follow-up. You can do that with ads. People leave so much money sitting on the table when they spend money on ads. You get them over to a website and then or a landing page or like a like page, right? A fan page. And then they stop. They're not only wasting money, but the biggest thing that you said, Shecky, is they're doing a disservice to their customer. So you and I came up with this strategy to do a Blab every Monday, breakout session on Wednesday. We decided to record this in a format that we can then sell it at a later time. We want original feedback from beta users like we have on Blab. And we decided together, if we don't do this consistently and train and record this, we do a disservice to our customers.
Right.
We know how to do it. We have documented processes. And honestly, people will obviously buy it. But that's what happens second. This is unequivocally a disservice if Shecky and I don't record these videos, don't put this thing together, because I know I can help a lot more people. And for doing so, I know that we're also going to get paid for it as well too. So, our biggest, what you are going to hear us focus on the next 12 to 14 to 16 weeks is how to overcome that fear. So it's like 1 + 1. You are confident in the answer. And if you're not confident in the answer, you're confident in the process to know that you will get an answer. You're always going to get an answer. And then we're going to continue to build and quantify. I'm telling you, you follow us here on these Blabs every single Monday. By the end of these next 14 to 16 weeks, your business will be dramatically different. But it's all, the biggest thing is we all want to make sure that it really comes down to implementation. So I know, Shecky, I kind of went on my high horse for that for a minute. I'll tell people about, SMAG again and the 2 stories. But do you have anything you want to add to that? I'm just super passionate about this.
I'm thinking about this dating analogy too. And, you bring up fear. And I think a lot of the reasons why people maybe aren't doing stuff is because, like you say, they maybe don't know their metrics. They don't know what's going to happen. So they'll turn things off or they'll hold themselves back. But, I want to just give you something to think about, right? If we put this in the framework of, say, dating, right? And you had the perfect setup, the perfect date. You were going on this perfect first date with person that's like your perfect avatar or whatever. And you made that connection, right? Like this person opted in for whatever other thing you want to call it. Okay. There is no fear anymore. You're excited because you know what's happening. And when date 2 and date 3 and date 4 comes along, holy cow, that's when it gets fun and exciting and romantic and all that other good stuff, right? So maybe, sometimes I think, at least I find for myself, getting over certain fears in a way has to do with using other analogies or diluting ourselves or changing the framework in which we look at stuff. So I would say, if you're afraid at all, just think about this like dating, or if you're married, think about being romantic with your significant other. It's like, what would happen if we really upped our game in this relationship? How amazing and awesome would that be? And so that's the same sort of tack that you have to take with your customers. How can I up my game? How can I make this a better experience for them, right? How can we do this courtship, this dance, right? So I think, if you look at it that way, it's going to really help you get over your fear. But I know you've got a good story that talks a little bit about dialing in this.
There's 2 things I want to cover here real quick, Shecky. So someone just asked, what week are we on? Technically, we're on week 3 of this really 14+ week process. Again, you have access to all the recordings you can see on Blab where we talked about this, or a breakout session inside of Social Media Ad Genius. Basically, we just tell people, if you want to follow us on our email, you can see Shecky put a link on here, smag2.com. You can sign up for an email list there. You get up-to-dates on these trainings. Or if you want to join our breakout session that's going to happen Wednesday, this exact same time, we're going to dive into this even more. So, and remember, the Blab recordings, of course, are always out there, but the other recordings for the deep dives really for our social media families.
Kurt, let me just jump in for a minute so people understand where we're at in this process, because you just touched on it. But essentially, yes, we are on the 3rd week of this. The first week was essentially just an overview of like what we were going to cover, right? Last week, we talked about part 1 of this 4-step keystone process, like the 4 foundations, right? And so this week, although it's week 3, it's essentially part 2 of the 4 keystones. Once we get through the 4 keystones, next week is huge because it's the whole SMAG profit factory. And then the week after that is also really big too. So just so people understand where we're at in the process, next week's portion is eventually going to be divvied up into somewhere between 12 and 17 components, because we eventually have to take the time to go through the entire SMAG profit factory, like everything you need to know, every metric, every time you make an audience, every time you retarget, et cetera, your content creation, all that stuff. So we're going to go through that piece by piece. We're going to cover foundational stuff first. That's where we're on now. Okay. So I hope that, I know that's probably about as clear as mud, but if you guys,
Shake, let's not say that. So let's make it clear. It's not clear as mud.
If you stick with us, you'll see what I mean. Right,
but Shecky, this is important.
Yes.
So if you watch now, everything that we give you in these blabs or in these breakouts is going to be a small piece of information that you can implement right away. You don't have to wait for 16 weeks. Number 1. Number 2, if you implement along the way as you follow us on a regular basis, unequivocally your business will be different and completely different at the end of 90 days, 14 weeks, okay? Now, what happens is there's a difference between trust, or there's a difference between faith and hope. We don't have hope that this will work. We know that it will. Hope is standing next to the fire, hoping you won't get burned. Faith is jumping over the fire, knowing that you will make it.
Yes.
Shecky and I know that we're going to make it, because when we talk about these 12 to 14 different components, what we know is if we break down each part, because I can look at a funnel, I can show you how to make millions of dollars for a funnel. I can show you the ads to run, how it works, but Shecky knows this. I can explain it in 60 minutes. I'll explain it so fast with so many numbers. If you don't have some kind of baseline of knowledge, you'll be like, holy crap, I'm going to implement one idea, but that was a ton of ideas. If you have this compartmentalized and it's broken down, each part of your marketing funnel, how you're running your ads, eventually you'll be able to come to us and say, hey, look, Kurt, Shecky, or go to your marketing director and say, I'm stuck on step number 6. That's my follow-up process. I got to get a little bit better to follow up, and I got to figure out how it's going to be ads and email. Now, I know I got to send an email, and now you're going to do numbers of exactly what to do instead of, oh my goodness, there's all this stuff to do. So don't let 12 weeks overwhelm you. And sorry, Shecky, to cut you off, but I don't want to say clear as mud, because it's really going to be clear as you pay attention to us. Now, one other thing I want to get into before stories, then I know that we got to wrap it up. Shecky, one of the things that I've been doing to work very clearly on is I'm really fascinated by people's fear. And I'm fascinated with how fear works, because really the people that run great ads are no smarter than you and I, right? Some people know what a link preview is. Sometimes we'll cover that at some other point. But the thing is it's the fear that holds people back, right? It's the stories around what might or might not happen, not what actually happens. So I'm going to be training this more. But Shecky, I heard this and I thought this was really good. And it's a 7-step process on how to overcome fear. And it's a logical process that I go through when I run ads. But I want to talk about this for just a second. And then I'm going to jump into these 2 stories and we'll wrap the whole thing up. Okay? Because you segued and said something really good. So if you're looking at your ads and you're scared, you don't know what to do, I want you to think about this. Now, we will write this down. I have it written on my wall. That's why I had to step away for a second. But write this down. And I want you to think about this when you're thinking about your ad campaign. This is really important. Like, this is going to be one of those gold nuggets that we have inside the training. See, Shecky's already grabbing a pen.
I'm writing it down too.
Yep. Step number 1, you're going to receive data or event or something's going to happen, right? You're going to see your ad numbers. Your landing page doesn't work. Hell, it's icy outside. I don't know. You just receive some data, right? Number 2, the way that you receive that data, you're going to receive it through some kind of frame. So for example, step number 2 is frame. So what's my frame? I'm watching some cheesy program on Saturday night. It was like on, I don't know what channel it was on, but it was like, it had this like American flag in the background, this guy with his headshot like this, and he's screaming with a red tie. It was like a Republican show with another flag over here and flashing red and big bold letters down below. It's like, scared. Big news. And I turned off the sound and watched the marketing around it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, the frame of information I would receive here, right? Oh my goodness, it's completely different than if I heard it from someone else, right? So step number 3, I'm going to start to tell a story or a past event. I'm going to tell some story in my head based off where this information is coming from. So I'm watching this guy, this Republican, screaming into the camera. I don't know who he is. He looks official. He looks like he's like on the news. I think he knows what he's talking about. He's bashing the president. I don't know if I really like the president. No, I'm looking at it through a frame, and based off the other information I have, I'm going to create some other story in my head, whether it's real or not, right? Shecky's heard me say this to people. People will come and tell me these big fear stories, and I'm like, man, it takes more creativity to tell yourself these weird stories that have never, ever happened than it does to create the ad and run the frickin' thing, right?
Right.
So now you have a choice on step number 4. You got these stories in your head. You got this information from this frame. So now you're going to decide, am I just going to repeat this and worry about shit that honestly doesn't exist, right? Fear, false events appearing real, right? Am I just going to worry about it? Or step number 5 is it real? I'm going to assess this, right? So right now, is it real? Right now, not in the future, not could it happen. Is it real right now? My landing page is broke. Great. That's real. It's broke. Great. It's real. Not my business is going to fall in if I don't advertise. That's made up, right? Yes, it's real. What can I measure? I can measure that. So step number 6 is, what can I measure? Okay, my landing page is broke. I know that clicks are going to my landing page, but my landing page doesn't work. Okay, what can I test and verify? Step number 7. What can I test and verify? Well, I can go to my landing page. I can open it up in Lead Pages, and I can see if I can at least try to make it work on that end. I can test and verify it. That's it. So what's going to happen is you're going to receive some kind of data, whether that be your Facebook ads, let's just say it's your Facebook ads. Let's say you spend $100. You're going to, step number 1, you're going to receive that data. Step number 2 is, what kind of frame do you have that in? Is it Facebook data, or is it your landing page data? You know, what does that look like? That's awesome. Thank you, Shecky. That's perfect. Thank you. Right? And number 3, so let's say you get it in a frame, for example, step number 2, the frame that you get it in, all it is just a black and white number. You know your exact cost per click, cost per lead, right? So then you're going to start telling yourself past stories. You can either say, hey, I've done this before because I see 1 + 1 = 2. I put $1 in, I make $1.25. So this is great. It's provable numbers. So this is a story that I have around that's true, right? It's verifiable. So I'm going to figure out, okay, is it real? Yep, the number's real. Great. What can I measure? I measure the numbers are black and white right here. What can I test and verify? Well, I'm going to run another variable and test again. Great. This is how we're going to keep on building your ads. Instead of, hey, I got a bunch of numbers. I don't know what they mean. That means you don't have the right frame. Either your frame is going to be the information that you've already learned, or were you going to learn it from someone else? And that someone else, do they have the right frame? Do they have the right expertise to be able to give you something that you can access, that you can measure, and that you can test and verify? So everything we're going to do is quantify and test and verify. So we're really going to be talking a lot more about fear. And I'm going to jump into our story here real quick, Shecky, about fear. You know, I had a client come to me who has made, I know, at least over 100 million online. He's a brilliant marketer. If I said his name, many of you watching this know who he is. And he came to me and he said, Kurt, I'm running an event and I'm selling tickets, but I don't know where I'm selling them from. Can you help me run this? Yes. And I did it for free to prove a point. And I ran a basic report inside of Facebook. And what I found is this individual was advertising to 7 different countries for this one event being held in the US. 7 countries, because people from those countries have come to his event. But what he didn't know is, this is the frame that I had it in. I knew that if I target 7 countries, if one country seems to click on ads more, Facebook is going to route that traffic to where they're getting more clicks. And what I found, because I knew the frame, I found out 97% of traffic was going to Italy, and less than 1% was going to the US. And what I knew is that 1% was still buying tickets to almost make the event profitable. So all I did, because of focusing on who the avatar was and knowing the frame of numbers, I shut down all the other countries and I ran to just the United States with the ads that he was already running. This guy is brilliant. This is just a small mistake that he missed. Not because he's dumb. I just saw the opportunity. By changing that one setting, we quadrupled the spend, and I believe he had over a 3x return. It was amazing. But it's just because he didn't have his avatar proper dialed in. And honestly, Shecky, he was in a hurry. He set stuff up real quick and he walked away. And he didn't verify the numbers. And he goes, I'm scared my targeting's wrong. And I thought about like the 7-step system that we just went over, right? And I'm like, you wouldn't be scared because you'd be telling yourself the story in the head and you know that you can make a choice where I can find the numbers that are verifiable. I knew exactly where to look. And that's what we're showing people over these next 14 to 16 weeks, exactly where to look and how to quantify.
Yeah.
Any thoughts or ideas around that, Shecky?
No, it's a great, first of all, yes, I know the individual and it's a great story. And one of the things that it emphasizes for me is the fact that oftentimes, like my dad, you know, may he rest in peace, used to have a saying that says, nobody can see their own hunchback, right? So as if to say, when you're at home, and obviously we deal with a lot of solopreneurs or people that are just, you know, maybe they're a marketing manager, they're sitting alone in their office. When you're there by yourself and you're setting this stuff up, oftentimes it's something really simple like this that you just don't see.
Yeah.
So my big takeaway from that is, look, this is another reason why we do these blabs. This is another reason why we do these the breakout session will have way more detail than today, but breakout sessions on Wednesdays. This is why we've built this community, what we call the SMAG family, is because it's important for you as a marketer to get in there and mix it up. Listen to what other people are saying. You know, we're very good at what we do, but sometimes, like I've been on phone calls with people, and I know I've told you this before, Kurt, and I'm not saying it to toot my own horn, but I'll just say something to somebody on the other end of the phone, like, hey, have you ever considered like this angle, you know? And it's something to me that's just like super obvious, right? Like this is not a piece of genius or anything like that. And on the other end of the phone, I can hear them going, oh my frickin' God. Yeah. That is like unbelievable. It's like, well, there's nothing unbelievable about it. It's just you're stuck in your own head, right? And just having a conversation with somebody else, jumping on a webinar, having that association with other people allows you to get out of your own head. So in that's kind of my big takeaway from what you just said, because that represented millions of dollars of business for that guy. And not to say you're not good at what you do either, Kurt, you're great, but it was a very, very simple solution. It was just something that he wasn't seeing. It was a tiny little tweak.
But just to be clear, it's all about opportunity. So I love to tell that story and say, like you said, not the smartest guy in the world on it, right? This guy's brilliant. But if you know exactly where to look, sometimes you'll run. This has been really Shecky. You know this. You've known me for a good long while. This has been the story of my career. I'll run into some kind of celebrity or internet guru or a marketing legend, and they'll ask me a question about Facebook, and I'll be like, oh, you know, do you happen to retarget? Lots of people know how to retarget. They're like, Kurt, I heard you're pretty good at it. That's just because they heard that from someone else. And I go, okay. And they go, could you run it for me? And I ask them, well, why do you select me after there's so many other people you can choose from? Like, I love this stuff. And they're like, well, because I heard you did well from someone else. And that's it. Yeah. So what happens is you can meet some amazing people, and it's just one or two small little adjustments that can make a huge difference for their marketing campaign and for yours. That's why we're here, right? The second story that we have here real quick, Shecky, is a favorite one. We're actually going to spend more time talking about this in the breakout and some next week. But a friend of a girl that I was seeing at the time, she wanted to test out. She was creating like this baby stroller idea concept. Like, it's a little crazy, a little bit different from me for being an entrepreneur. But here's what she basically did. She wanted to find out if people would actually buy this thing. So she set up a fan page. We charged her like $250. We ran some likes, but she just wanted to see if people would like this image and might be able to buy it. Now, she, like, over the course of 5 years, she went to China 3 or 4 times, a lot of R&D. She spent a lot of money. 5 years. And employees, and office space, and trips to China, multiple trips to China. I know I've said it a couple of times. Trips to China are not cheap, just to let you know. Multiple manufacturers. 5 years later, she wouldn't have done that if she didn't test market it first. So she wanted to make sure before she went all through that is that she's going to be able to be successful when she creates this, if she's going to sell it. So she has to get her avatar right. Now, I will tell you, I'll tell you more of the story later, but she just released her product at a Las Vegas show that is the biggest in the baby industry. This was just a couple of months ago. They were #1 internationally in the entire conference. It's huge, all because she focused on her avatar the right way. So,
Awesome.
Shecky, I know that we're a little over on time. So the last thing is I'm just going to remind people here one more time, and then we'll take some closing comments. And I'm happy to answer questions if people want to jump on. But just remember, hey, if you enjoyed today's content, make sure you give us a little props, the hands up, the high fives. Let us know that you believe that you found something valuable here that you can take and you can use and start thinking about your marketing. Now, if you haven't already followed Shecky and I on Blab, make sure that you do that as well too. And you know, one of the best compliments that we can receive is clicking on that tweet button or post it on the Facebook. You know, just letting others know that you found some information here about us and it was good. So the other thing is, if you enjoyed the content, remember, we're recording our breakout session that we're going to be putting in our product that we're codenaming Social Media Ad Genius Profit Factory. Now, my business partner, Nick, just put in smag2.com/Webby. That's where you can sign up for that breakout session. Now, the breakout session, we're going to go more in depth on how to target the right avatar. We're going to go through some exercise that we only share with clients and students of how we define that avatar even closer. Now, remember, the recordings of the Blab, they're always going to be live and they're always going to be up on Blab. Now, the recordings of the breakout session are only going to be made available until Saturday at midnight, because every Wednesday when we have a breakout session, we offer people Social Media Ad Genius. Join us at Social Media Ad Genius. We show you how to do Facebook marketing, and you're going to receive all the recordings inside of what we call our Social Media Ad Genius Insiders Club. You see, if you're already a part of the Social Media Ad Genius family, awesome, congratulations, thank you. If you're also a member of our Social Media Ad Genius Insider community, you know, our Insider community is really where I answer questions. We meet once a week as a group to really go over questions. But if you're a part of the Insider group, you're going to get access to all of the breakout recordings absolutely for free. What that also means is that when we release Social Media Ad Genius Profit Factory, you're going to get a complimentary subscription inside of the Profit Factory. You know, everything we're recording in the next 12 to 14 weeks is going to be put into a big program that we're going to launch in June. So if you want to see how we launch a big product, if you want to see step-by-step how we work with 6, 7, and 8-figure companies and how we help build out their sales funnels and how we help run their ads, join us now. So make sure that you join us on the breakout session, which is smag2.com/Webby. Nick, I don't know if you want to put the link up there. If people are already in Social Media Ad Genius, how to be a part of the Insiders Club, I'll let you determine that. But definitely, if you want to learn more about the avatar, make sure you join the breakout session that's on Wednesday the same time. Shecky, I know we have a question down here overall. We'll ask a question, but do you have any other comments as well, too?
Just one, in that, you know, the people that are part of the SMAG family, obviously, most of you took advantage of, I do personally, a 30-minute strategy call with you. So if you're not currently a member of the SMAG family, I want to encourage you to become one of our brothers, sisters, become part of the family. And I will jump on the phone with you specific to your product, niche, whatever, and we'll go through via this framework that we talked about with the 4 foundations and the profit factory. And what we'll do is we'll kind of go through a series of questions and look and see exactly which parts you have tight and which parts you need a little help with. So it's going to make it very, very easy for you to move forward and know the things that you've got to focus on. I mean, I don't know anybody else out there in internet marketing land, and that's a big land, that really will give you this kind of personalized attention just for becoming part of their community. So, and honestly, I got to tell you, Kurt will tell you too, like I did, when I first started doing these, you know, like I had some apprehension around it, maybe some fear too, for sure. But I got to tell you, I love this shit. Okay. Like this is my favorite part of my job, is being able to get on the phone with you and seeing what you're up to. So by all means, if you're not a member already, I want to encourage you to join, and I'm happy to visit with you and spend time with you. And I look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, the moral of the story is you know, Shecky hears me say this all the time, and you'll see this as you follow me more and you join our trainings. People operate in patterns, which makes people very predictable. Now, if you overcome fear and you treat it with numbers and you realize, okay, wait, Shecky's really predictable and he's probably going to do this, but he's not going to do this. But the numbers show me that, well, then I can build a customized plan of something that I know he's going to like to work on and how he can scale his business. And I'm not going to give him something he doesn't like. So Shecky's talked to all these students. He's had all this experience talking to someone just for, I mean, a lot of people say they joined Social Media Ad Genius to have that conversation with Shecky, but it's really because he's seen so much, we've had so much exposure. It's easy to spot those little holes and those little problems. So I definitely encourage you to take up, that conversation with Shecky. One of the things as we really close this stuff out is, Shecky, I think about this every single day, is, as you know, the way that I start my day, and you start your day in a very similar way, is I jump out on my bike, I go for a ride, what we call riding around your town lake, and I listen to a couple of videos or songs or speeches first thing in the morning to really get me, I don't want to say fired up and excited, because motivation without any instruction or plan is, you jump up and down and get all excited and nothing happens, right? But what I really do is I really focus on what can I do for the day? And here's what helps me focus. How can I provide more value to more people? People say that loosely, but here's what I know. People who have joined Social Media Ad Genius before, we've seen hundreds of testimonials. Unequivocally, I know that it works. So here's my passion. I know unequivocally our stuff's going to work. I know the people that join us, I know it'll work. I know if you join us for 14 to 16 weeks and watch this, and you apply exactly what I'm telling you, hands down, I know it's going to work, because it's worked for so many other people. So when people say, hey, Kurt, I don't know if this is going to work, I don't know if I could join you, I don't know if I should join the Social Media Ad Genius family, that's completely cool. Because the people that are unconfident and aren't sure and don't really know, it's cool. You will figure out the wait and see plan. Meaning, while other people are on with me on the playing field, I'm ready to go and I'm ready to deliver this. So in the morning when I go for a ride on my bike or I go for a walk, I think about, how do I not play small? And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about, how do I better serve you people who are watching right now, to make sure that when I come up to you as a coach or someone that you worked with and you go, Kurt, I'm having problems with my online advertising. Great. We have language that we've established to know where are the holes exactly. What exactly are the numbers we have to improve on? What are the exact next steps? So join us over the course of the next 16 weeks. So you can join our content for free here on the Blab that you're going to see the recordings. Join us for the breakout, where we're going to dive more in exactly how, like, double your business or double business. I'll answer your question in a second. More on how you define your avatar, and then make sure you're inside the Social Media Ad Genius family, because we always reward people who take action first. We're going to have a Social Media Ad Genius family reunion. I mean, if you don't know who we already are, you'll figure it out. Just join us. We spent millions in Facebook, and we work with some amazing individuals, and we share the information with you. So one of the last questions I'm going to answer here is, avatar is the key, but how do you determine it? Obviously, you're going to know me to say, we're going to cover this on the breakout session. But one of the things to best explain is we really focus on, watch, if I was to close my eyes and talk to one person, who is that? So for me, that is 35, 55 June. She's an entrepreneur. She's an early adopter. She's not afraid to try technology. She's typically college educated, but I'm not going to turn down somebody who's just high school educated like myself, right? I want to give everybody the opportunity. But they are going to be interested in online marketing. Now, when I'm writing marketing material, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to really think about, okay, June. If I'm sitting at a coffee table or at a coffee shop with June, what is she wearing? What does she look like? If I was to follow June home in a non-weird, awkward way,
Glad you said that.
and if I walked into her house, yeah, what would I see? I walk into her living room, like, what kind of magazines would she read? Where would she shop at? Who would she hang out with? Would she watch Oprah? If she watched Oprah, did she like you start thinking about some of the stuff, and these are the people that you can get laser targeted on. So if I know that June's 35, 55, I can target entrepreneurs. I can target people who like online marketing. I can target people who like Oprah. I can target people who shop at like JCPenney's or buy luxury goods. So what we do is we really focus on who would that one person be? Because here's what works perfect for marketing. If you're advertising to everyone, people are like, oh, look at that billboard. Oh, look at that over there. The best comments, and Shecky knows that he hears this all the time, and I hear this all the time, is when people watch your marketing over time. They read your emails, and people come up to you and they go, here's one of my favorite things, and it does stroke the ego, but it's an amazing accomplishment. I've told Shecky these stories. Like when you're walking through the airport and someone comes up, and they're like, oh my God, Kurt, I'm one of your customers, social media ad genius. Oh my God, dude, I applied this to my business. It was absolutely amazing. And they're talking loud, right? And other people are looking, and they're like, oh, who are you? And you're like, yeah, that's me. But he influenced change, and he was excited to be able to meet me out in public. All I did is record a couple of videos to add value. That's it. So if you really focus on adding that value, when you start really changing lives, it's absolutely amazing. So follow us along for the next 16 weeks. We'll show you exactly how this whole thing works. Make sure you join us for the breakout session for the Webby, further identify your avatar. And if you want to know more about social media ad genius, you can opt into our email list, or you can join us directly. If you're already in the family, make sure you sign up for the Insiders Club. And Shecky, we went over a little over, but man, we covered some awesome content today.
Yeah, we went a little bit overboard, but it was good.
It's good. Any feedback, any questions, or any questions or thoughts from anybody else? Or are you checking?
No, man, I'm good. I think we covered a lot of ground today, and I just want to appreciate and say thank you to everybody that jumped on the call today. And I'm really looking forward to Wednesday, because that's just such a key component of all the stuff that we talk about. And if you're here today and you got a little bit of taste of it, by all means, come Wednesday. If you can't make it, register, because we will send out a replay that'll be good for a couple days afterwards. So just, there's some really good stuff coming up. And, whatever it is that your product or message is, this stuff is foundational to you having a successful business, and we're here for you. So I just want to encourage you to join us and be part of it, and you're going to get a lot out of it. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks again, Shecky, for being here. I'll see you guys in the breakout session. Remember, if you want to jump on our email list or join inside the family and get started right away, go ahead and do that. You'll see the links on the other side. So thanks, everybody. And Jason, thanks for your comment down here. Good info, guys. Avatar is such a big idea, so important for success. Those are the first couple of weeks that we covered. So you guys can check out all the recordings as well, too. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Bye. Thanks, everybody. Take care.